Okay, let's just chazribber a little bit outside the sugya. We were discussing the unique carbon called the chagiga yud dalid. Just to go over on usually on a regel, when you oil the regel, you're being an oilas re'iyah that is not eaten at all. You bring a chagiga, a shalmei chagiga, and we call it again on shalmei tesvav on sukkis and on pesach and on shavuos it's called chagiga, and you bring what's called shalmei simcha is shlamim to eat the meat. So you have three kabbanis you have to bring: the oilus re'iyah, the shalmei chagiga, and the shalmei simcha. Those are brought all the time. In Pesach, in addition, you bring a carbon called the chagiga yud dalit. Why? We said yesterday to eat the carbon Pesach ala soiva, you should be satiated when you eat the carbon Pesach, because the carbon Pesach we had machlokes Rashi and Tosfos. It should be according to Rashi. You should eat it when you're satiated. According to Tosfos, to guarantee you're satiated and you're not going to eat it with such gusto that you may come to go ahead and break a bone while you're eating it, because you may eat about the wrong because you're very hungry. So according to Tosfos, mashma will be the rabbanon in nature. According to Rashi, it will be the raisa. Okay, we had machlokes yesterday. Three machlokes exactly the status of this carbon, this yud dalit, the one that was brought on yud dalit. Did it have the dinner of the carbon Pesach? It was totally not like the carbon Pesach. Was it like the carbon Pesach and it can only be eaten for a night? Was it like the carbon Pesach? It can only be a male. It can only be a sheep. It can only be a goat. It can only be a year old. It can only be eaten sli. And we saw yesterday there's a machlokes according to the Chachamim. No, it had nothing in common whatsoever. It can be eaten for 2 days and a night. It can be for any which type of animal. And it can be eaten any which way. According to Ben Tema, who said it's exactly like the Yudalit, every halacha would apply with two exceptions. One, it would not be Doicha Shabbos, even though the Korban Pesach is Doicha Shabbos. The Korban Chagiga would not be born on Shabbos. And the second thing that we didn't go ahead and answer, whether there's a din of Shviras Etzem, breaking the bone by the Chagiga Yudalit. We know there's a din like that to break a marrow bone by the Korban Pesach is a lav. We didn't say we try to ascertain by the Chagiga Yudalit, and we failed. Okay, a third shita was the shita of Yehuda ben Dortai. Him and his son separated. Why? Because they held that the Korban Chagiga Yudalit is in fact Docha Shabbos, and not only Docha Shabbos, right? Is Moshe Yehuda's question. Even if you have a lot of Korban Pesach available, you would still have to bring it. In other words, even if you had a Korban Pesach to satiate, to fill your hunger, and in addition satiate your appetite, you'd still have to bring the Korban Chagiga Yudalit. Those are the different sheetas we saw. We're in the middle of something. I stopped in the middle because I hadn't prepared it. Let's go back to on the Ayin Amid Beis. Ayin Amid Beis. We said the pasuk. We were explaining about Dutai. Go the first word on the line. It's probably about 30 lines. No, it's 15 lines up. It says the Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Avu. Minayin lemoiser Pesach. Let's say you have a carbon that was separated, got lost, and you found it. Or let's say you had money and karbonis went down and you had extra cash. What do you do to that? Minayin shekar shlamim. How do you know being as a carbon shlamim? Shnemar it says there's a vachta Pesach l'Hashem lekechet soinu bakar. Now we all know you cannot bring a carbon Pesach from bakar. Bakar is usually is a calf or cow, an ox. It's heavy livestock. It only comes from tzigin or shepselach. It only comes from goats and or sheep. The leftover money you have a Pesach or an extra carbon Pesach can be bought from the carbon, which could be bought from either tzoyin or bakar, which is in fact mat shlamim. For right, or not bakar. For Rabbana, my time. Okay, now for Rabbana, my time l'daf Shabbos. Havadi carbon sibur. Who a side question? We said the carbon Pesach is the carbon sibur. It's not bought, guys. Remember this. It's not bought with shkolim funds. Usually, a carbon sibur is bought with the money that we collect for shkolim. Over here, it's not. So why in the world is it's called the carbon sibur? Because it's bought with kenufia. It's bought with a multitude of people. Read the Gemara. If that's the case by carbon Pesach, it's called the carbon sibur. Then the Shalmei Yudalit is also called the carbon sibur. It's also bought with kenufia. So the Gemara asks right away. So why isn't it Doicha Shabbos? So Rabbi Loy Mikshon Rabbi Yehuda Safra Amakra Chagoisim Moisei Chag LaShem Shivas Yamim Vashana. You should go ahead and be chayge, bring carbon chagigos 7 days of the year. Shiva, it's not 7 days, it's Shmoyna Havi. We're speaking, this pasuk is stated regarding Sukkot. We know Sukkot, including Shmini Atzeres, is 8 days. So why does it say you only bring a chagiga 7 days? Now The kandet chagiga is not doicha Shabbos, right? Good, geschmack. It says 7 days. Really, it's 8. And why does it say 7? Because there's 1 day you can't bring the chagiga on. What day is that? That is Shabbos. Sometimes you only find 6 days of chagiga. You're going to Yontav Rishon Shachag Shabbos. If the first day and the 8th day are both on Shabbos, you only be 6 days. So Amar Abaya said to him, Oven Tichla. Oven Tichla means you buried your child. Leimiki Hanilsa Shmoina Lemishkachas Laklal Shiva Isya Beroiv Shonim. The point was that you never find 8, but you usually find 7. We're not going ahead and the Yotzim and Akal of 6. Okay. Amar Ula, Amar Rebbe Elazar. Shlamim sheshachla me'erev yantif, eini yoytze behen. Loy mishum simcha, loy mishum chagiga. Guys, we did this yesterday a little bit. Let me give it to you outside. It's a bit. Again, there's so many ideas that are flying around. Any carbon that's a chiyuv cannot be brought from kachim. You have to take chulin, regular money, purchase an animal. You can't take an animal that you already. Oh, 1 second, I have a carbon shlomim. By the way, I have a shlomim ready. Let me bring it for a chagiga. You can't do it. Why? Because a chagiga has to be bought from chulin. Because any chov has to be bought from chulin. Good? Any chov has to be bought from chulin. Good. What about, there's another carbon, the shalmei simcha. Let's say I just happen to have a shlomim around. Can I bring it as a shalmei simcha? On one hand, you could tell me the same thing, that any animal has to be bought from chulin, and it's not chulin. And the answer is, it says, V'samachta b'chagecha. There's a very special limud, V'samachta, to teach me that the carbon shlomim, shalmei simcha, can be bought from an existing carbon. So there we're stating that right now. Listen to the lashon. Amar Rav Elazar, shlomim sheshachtem erev yontif, a shlomim that I shechted erev yontif, ostensibly, it's machloikis. The Rambam says it's a carbon that you bought as an adava. Tosfos seems to say, afilu it's yudalit. Eino yoytzim en lo mishum simcha. You can't use it. You cannot use it for the carbon shalmei simcha. But lo mishum chagiga. Nor can you use it for your chagiga tesvav. Why? Mishum simcha. Why can't you use it from simcha? Why can't you go ahead and use it for simcha? The chsiv, it says, Zavachta v'samachta. And you should shecht, and you should be happy. Be'inyan zvicha, you have to shecht it, shah simcha. When there's a chiyuv of simcha, which is yontif. Erev yontif, there's no simcha, so I can't use an animal shechted erev yontif when it has to be v'zavachta b'shah simcha. It's not shah simcha. Therefore, if I can't use it for a carbon simcha. That's the opinion of Ravin Ulin, the name of Rabbi Elazar. Keep that in mind. Now, v'laka mishum chagiga havidav shebechayv v'chol davar shebechayv ein ba'al v'nachulin. Okay, it's a very good shema. As I just told you in Akdama, the chagiga can never be bought from a carbon because it has to be bought from chulin. Simcha could. If I have a shlomim, in fact, I could go ahead and use it for the shalmei simcha. So therefore, I had to find another reason why I can't use a carbon that was slaughtered for the simcha. It can't be a chulin kachim because I could use kachim. Why is it? It's the gezeres hakasiv that says, it says 2 verbs. V'zavachta, v'samachta. You should shecht, you should be happy, right? When can you shecht? When there's a chiyuv to be happy. And not when there's not a, doesn't mean chiyuv to be happy. It means a mitzvah of simcha. We're always supposed to be happy. It's not a lit for shadat. I'm saying, everyone's supposed to be happy all the time. I'm saying this is the case of simcha over here means the mitzvah of simcha. That's the opinion of Ula in the name of Rav Elazar. Lema Messiah, guys, I will bring you a proof to this. Again, proof to this side that an animal that is slaughtered erev yontif cannot be used on yontif for simcha. Where do I see that from? It says v'yisa ach sameach. It says v'yisa ach sameach. It says by Sukkot you should be what? Ach sameach. Now that's an extra pasuk because it said before Chag HaSukkos tasa l'cha shivas yamim and says v'samachta b'chagecha. So when it says v'samachta b'chagecha, the whole pasuk of v'yisa ach sameach is extra. V'samachta b'chagecha tells me I have to be happy. What is v'yisa ach sameach? How happy can you be, right? So what is this extra v'yisa ach sameach? The rabbis to include leil yontav v'achroin l'simcha. That Shmini Atzeres night is a mitzvah of simcha. So it comes to include Shmini Atzeres l'inyan simcha, Ato Yom Tov Achrein. You mean Shmini Atzeres? Maybe it means there's a mitzvah of Simcha, the night of Sukkot, opening night of Sukkot. When you sit in the Sukkah, maybe it means there's a mitzvah of Simcha. Guys, Simcha means eating a carbon. Simcha means eating a carbon. Okay, so I know I just used the pasuk to teach me there's a mitzvah to eat a carbon on the 8th day. How do I know it's not on the first night of Sukkot? How do I know that? Talmud Loimar, ach sameach. Now, ach, anytime the Torah uses the word ach or rak are mi'utim. They come to exclude. So what does this come to exclude? Cholak. It says cholak. It comes to exclude. My timer. Now, what's it cholak, guys? That there's no mitzvah of simcha opening night. Guys, why is no mitzvah of simcha opening night? Because any carbon that I shechted during the day would not be available to be mekayim the mitzvah at night. Pashtus, a beautiful proof to Rebbe Ula's name in Rebbe Laza. Guys, why did Ula say in the name of Rebbe Laza? A carbon chagiga that's shechted on Erev Yontif cannot be used to fulfill my chiyuv of simcha. The pasuk now is saying that opening night of Sukkot, there is no mitzvah of simcha. And the reason we ostensibly we're saying is because there's no simcha meat available. Because any meat of a carbon that's available would not be able to fulfill my chiyuv. Geshmak araya, says the Gemara, my time, you have no meat available in order to go ahead and be yotzi mitzvah simcha. Says Malay, that's not the reason. What's the reason? That is kiditani the timer. My royas, guys, we have a ribuy and we have a miyat. The ribuy is what? The pasuk for Yisach Sameach, and the miyat is the ach. So we have an inclusion and an exclusion. We chose to include the night of the 8th and exclude the night of the 1st. You thought the reason is because there's no meat available. No, that's not the reason. There's another reason. What's the reason? Why you want the night of the 8th and exclude the night of the 1st? Let me include Leila Yontif Achroin. Let me include the night of the 8th. Sheyesh Simcha Lefana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 days of Simcha. Makes a lot of sense to go ahead and segue right into the 8th day of Simcha. Leila Yom Tov Rishon, what do you have beforehand? She'ein Simcha Lefanav. Makes no sense to say that should be my starting point. In Svara, I have a ribuy and a miyat. I have a pasuk that comes to include. I have a pasuk that comes to exclude. It makes more sense to include a continuation of Simcha, day 8, than to go ahead and say it should start. So therefore, if I have to exclude, I'll exclude day number 1. But not because I don't have meat available. Hence, I do have meat available. But I have to use the exclusion of Ach. And it makes more sense to use the exclusion of Ach for day 1 than day 8. But no raya to Ulin name Rebbe Laza, that meat that was shechted Erev Yontif cannot be used. Maybe it could be used, but there's no mitzvah of simcha because there wasn't a starting, because I'm using the exclusion for day 1 rather than day 8, because it makes more sense. Are we doing good? Okay, perfect. Masav Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef is going to ask on this idea that any meat that's slaughtered on Erev Yontif you can't use. Masav Rabbi Yosef. Chagigas Arba Asa, the Chagiga of Arba Asa, Yaitza Misham Simcha. 1 second, guys. When do you go ahead and shech the Chagiga of Yudala, guys? Erev Pesach, right? Is that the daytime? Is that the daytime? You can't shech the carbon at night, guys. Kutshim 101, first base. You cannot shech a carbon at night. B'yom Savoso, commanded during the day. Cannot shech a carbon of night. So says the Brisa, a chagiga of Arba Asa can be yotzi chiyuv from Simcha. If this seems familiar to you, take a look back at Amid Aleph, Ayin Amid Aleph, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines from the top. Chagigas Arba Asa, Yotzam Mishum Simcha, My time with the Bentema. And who said this brisa? This is the brisa of Bentema. Bentema is the one who says that the Chagigas Yud Gimel Yudalid is the same as the Korban Pesach, except for Shabbos and Shvir Setzim. Good. So now, apparently, at least like Bentema, apparently you're able to go ahead and shech and use it for Simcha. Correct? That's what it says. So back in the Gemara by us, Chagigas Yudalid. Yotzeba mishum simcha, then yotzeba mishum chagiga, but it won't be yotzeba chagiga. Amai habeinin zvicha b'shas simcha. How could you use the carbon that was shechted during the day for your chi of simcha? You need zvicha, the act of shechting, to concur with the act of mitzvah simcha. It's speaking where you didn't shecht it on your dalit, you shechted it on tesvav. You shechted on Tesvav. You didn't shecht on Dalit. In other words, you, for whatever reason, did not bring the Chagigas to your Dalit. Now it's Tesvav, and you're bringing it. That can be also the mitzvah of Simcha. Why? Because you're having Zvicha b'shas Simcha. Amar Ravashi, Hachanami Mistabra, Eloi Tema Hachi, Hamasnisim Akatanila. Who learned this Mishnah? This brisa Bentema. Bentema hapasla belina. Bentema would say it's possible in Shma Mina. Guys, very good shmak. Listen to this beautiful raya. You're telling me that you could be yotza the mitzvah of simcha with what? With the carbon that was shechted on Yud Dalit. Who said this brisa? That's why Dafka turned back to Ayin Amid Aleph. It was Bentema. Bentema holds that the Chagiga Yud Dalit has the same din as the carbon Pesach. What would happen the morning of the 15th? So how could you be Yotze Yechiv with what? With the Chagiga that was shechted Erev Yontif. By the time Yechiv of Simcha comes about, you won't be able to eat it anymore. It becomes possible like the Korban Pesach. Ella, when it says the brisa that you could, it must be, when was it slaughtered? Not on your Dalit, it was slaughtered on Tesvav. It's Geshmakaraya, right? It's Geshmakaraya, because again, if it's slaughtered on your Dalit and the Chiyuv of Simcha is on Tesvav in the morning, it's out like the Korban Pesach. You'd have to burn it. Elamah, when you're telling me you could be Yaitse, it must be it's still around. How can it still be around? Because you slaughtered it on Tesvav, not on your Dalit. It's a very, very good right. Okay, so and it's not a question on Ula in the name of Rebbe Laza. Masiv Rava. Rava is going to ask a question again on Ula's opinion of Rebbe Laza, that you can't use something that was geshachten on your Dalit for Simcha. Halal, this is speaking about Sukkot. The chiyuv to say halal, Simcha, and the chiyuv to eat Simcha meat, eat basar, Shmoin is 8 days. If you're going to find you need to shech the time of Simcha, maybe you'll only find 7. Now, if it falls out on Shabbos, I can't shech the Chorban Chagig on Shabbos, guys. That we saw. Only according to Rav Yehuda Bar Bertai. He was the only one who said you could shech the Chagig on Shabbos. But Chagig is Tezvav, and Shalmei Simcha, and not Doicha what? They're not Doicha Shabbos. So how can you have the mitzvah of 8 days? We know one of those days is going to be Shabbos. It must be, when did you shecht it? It must be shechted it Erev Shabbos. And when are you going to eat it? On Shabbos. So you see that what? An animal that is slaughtered before Yontif can be used to fulfill the mitzvah on Yontif. The fact that it's 8 days of eating meat, and they're all considered simcha, it must be when Shabbos falls, and then I can't shecht it, I must be a shecht before. Shechal Yontif Rishon Lies b'Shabbos. The first day of Sukkot falls out on Shabbos, and I'm shechting Erev Yontif. I'm Rav Huna, Rav Yehuda. No, maybe Samchay B'Sirei Regalim. You're not being Mekayim the mitzvah of Simcha with a Shlamim. You're being Mekayim with the Korban Musaf. They would bring a Seir the first day, a Seir by Musaf. So it's a Chatas. So the Bnei Yisrael would be Mekayim the mitzvah of Simcha with this Chatas. It's a Shvera Havamina. We'll see Gemara Shlugs right away. Amarav, Shtei Shuvas B'Dava, 2 reasons why you can't be Mekayim the mitzvah of Simcha with the carbon chatas. One, chada desira golem chayne cholam. Even though you can bring a carbon on Shabbos, you can't cook it on Shabbos. So if you're going to eat the seirim, you have to eat them raw. Eating raw is not erech mashla, guys. That's no simcha in that. Chai necholin, sliye necholin. Sveitens, the simcha b'chai leka, and there's no simcha in raw meat, right? V'oid kahana meichlim yisrael b'masmechem. If there's a mid, who's eating the carbon chatas? Only kahanim, and only male kahanim. The mitzvah of simcha is by everybody, by males, right? Females get jewelry, and kids get candy, and men get meat. So guess what? I'm not getting any meat. So you can't tell me I can be yotzei my chiyuv of simcha with the sira golem. So it's a good it's a good raya. I must be yotzei the mitzvah of simcha erev yont with the meat that I shechted erev yontif. Kashan ula in the name of Rabbi Elam Papa. No, you won't be mekayim the mitzvah of on simcha with meat. But mesamchay b'ksus nakiya, a new suit, clean clothing, v'yayin yashon, some good wine, right? That'd be yotzei with that. Okay, so far, so Ula name Rabbi Elazar has held serve. Any carbon that's geshachten on your dalid. In fact, you can't go ahead and be yotzei yechiyav simcha. We're going to have a descending opinion. Kiyasa Rav and Rabbi Elazar. You find often in Shas, the people who oil from Eretz Yisrael, they said a different opinion of what they heard, right? Very often they came in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. In this case, Rabbi Elazar, who was a Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan. Kiyasa Rav and Rabbi Elazar, Shlomim sheshachlan erev yontif. A shlomim that was shechted erev yontif, yaitza behen mishum simcha. Yutaki disagrees with Ula. Yutaka would be yaitza b'simcha, even though it's slaughtered on Yudalid. Even though it's not Saman Simcha, he doesn't have the limit of what? Of his Avachta B'Samachta. However, he does agree, you will not be Yotzei Chagiga because it's not Chulin. Yotzei Mishum Simcha, Loi Ba'inen Zvicha B'Shas Simcha, you do not need the shechting to take place in the time where there's a mitzvah of Simcha. The Mela, good, the mitzvah of Simcha is on Tesvav, I can be Mekayim that mitzvah with meat slaughtered on your Dalit. V'loy mishum chagiga. Why? This Oven does agree. Rabbi Oven does agree with Ula. Avi davar shebechova. The chagiga is a davar shebechova. V'chol davar shebechova ain't a boy elam in achulin. That can only be brought from chulin. Now we're going to have the same exact gemara we had previously, except previously it was a raya. Now it's going to be a kasha because the opinion of Ravin is the 180 degrees the opposite of Ula. Ve'yisa ach sameach. We have extra pasuk. L'Rabbi Stella Yom Tov Arachwa in the Simcha to include that the 8th day there's a chiyuv of Simcha. Atayim l'Rabbi Stella Yom Tov Arachwa. Ayin elo l'Rabbi Stella Yom Tov Arishayin. Maybe it comes to include the first day. Tamid Leimar chalak. We have a miyut that the first day says the Gemara. My time la mishum de'in loy b'ma yismach. Is it because you don't have any meat to go ahead and use? And according to you who hold that you could use the meat on your dalid, it should be a mitzvah simcha. I should be able to use the slaughtered meat on your dalid to mekayim my mitzvah, according to you, Rav, in the name of Rav Elazar. Like Kidatanya, the same thing. It's a pasuk. Ma rois l'Rabbi Stella Yom Tov Achon l'Hoitzel El Yom Tov Rishon Ma'badi El Yom Tov Rachon Sheish Simcha L'Fanav. I'll include the 8th day, which has 7 days of simcha before. And what's in Ilel Yom Tov Rishon Sheish Simcha L'Fanav. And I'll be I will exclude, since I have an inclusion and an exclusion. I'll use the exclusion for the first day because there was no previous days before. Amrav Kahana. Okay, new Gemara. We know every carbon has 3 parts. There's the avoida, there's the dam part, the imurim part, and the meat. Emurim. Let's say I have a carbon that can be eaten for 2 days and a night. Let's say there's a meat. Sure. I know. Yeah. Okay. The 2 days. The meat can. What? 4, 2, 2, 2. Oh no, it's in already because it showed my face. Okay, now the meat. Usually, let's say a shlomim has 2 days and a night. A chatas has a day and a night. An asham has a day and a night. A toida has a day and a night. What about the imurim? What's the zman of the imurim? Is it the same as the basar or different? So Rav Kahana is going to say it's different, meaning it will always be one day and one night. That's it. You have to burn the imurim. You bring it in the day, and you have the whole night to burn it. If it's left overnight, you're finished. You don't have la'adachia. You don't have. It's called lina or nicer, and you have to burn it. Good. This is the limit for that Gemara. Says Rav Kahana. Says Rav Kahana. Minayin leimuri chagiga chamisha asa shenifsalim belina. How do you know the imurim of a chagiga chamisha asa? Now a chagiga that's 15 is a chagiga is a shlamim. It's kachim kalim. How do you know it's possible? Shnemar lo yolin chelev chagi. You should not leave over chelev of my chag ad boiker. You should not leave over the chelev chag ad boiker. The samach it says reishis bikurecha. It says the first of my bikurim. The mitzvah bikurim is juxtaposed to the chagiga. Now, why means reishis means you have to, when it says boiker and it says reishis right next to the boiker, means burn it in the reishis boiker. Burn it in the first morning. Now, burn it in the first morning. So even though the chagiga can be eaten for 2 days and a night, the imurim have to be burned for 1 day and a night. And this is not only for the korban chagiga. If you take a look at the bottom places, minay leimurim chagiga sheniflal l'blina shnemar v'layolin ve'hacha nafka b'chal imurim. Over here is a source for all emurim. Every single korban, the emurim is burnt the night after the day. It doesn't, no 2 days a night, despite the fact the bus is longer. And the answer is quite beautifully, guys, that even though the animal is kachim kalim, that's only the part that goes to the person. The part that goes to God, there is no difference. Emurim to Hashem are all the same. They all have the chashivas of going on the mizbeach. They all mishulchan gavoa. Memela, they all have the same. That's it. You bring a gift to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, 1 day or 1 night. It has the din of Kodshe Kadoshim. A murim of Kodshem Kalim have a din of Kodshe Kadoshim. That's an other yisoid in Kodshem to know. It makes a lot of sense, right? My eating is one thing. God's eating, I don't know. I don't believe that. I got to bring that right away. So the imurim of Kodshem Kalim, they have the same din as Kodshe Kadoshim. Very good to know. Okay, that's Rav Kahana's din. Says the Gemara. Maskiv lo Rav Yosef. Taima, the reason why we're going to say the word boiker means the first morning, dichsev reishis, because the pasuk right afterwards says reishis bikurim, right? Mashma without the word reishis, you would think it's the second morning. Guys, let's do a little math. The carbon, you're bringing a carbon on, let's say, you're bringing a carbon on day one, you have the night, then you have the day. Meaning, and that night you're going to burn it. You're going to burn it that night. If the imurim are burnt the whole night. So the imurim would have a longer zman period than what? Than the meat. If you're going to say it's 2.5, you really get another half because you can burn it till the morning. Whereas the meat becomes possible at night. 2 days and a night means the day you bring it, the night in between, and the day afterwards. And that night it stops. But the imurim, if it's 2 days and a night, would extend till the morning afterwards. Fred the Gemara, great kasha, guys. Maskav la Rav Yosef, Taima, the whole reason you're going to say boiker. Dichsev reishis, haloi ksiv reishis. If it didn't say reishis, hava mina, my boiker sheni. Would you have a hava mina? And when it says the chagiga, you can burn the imurim, it means another morning, the second morning. Miyik and midi, is there anything? The basar ifsalei miorta. The meat will be puzzle from the evening of before. The imurim at safra, and the imurim would go until the morning. How are you talking that a person could go ahead? The imurim should be less shver than what? Than our chelik. So in other words, in svara, it doesn't make sense to say that boika means boika sheni. Even without the word rashis, I know it means boika rishon. That's the kasha. That's the kasha that he asked. That Rabbi Yosef asked. Amalei Abaye asked Rabbi Yosef. Alam aloi, what do you mean? I'll show you a case where the meat is burnt before the imurim. Pesach Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Pesach according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. The basar ifsalei mechatzois. The basar becomes puzzle from chatzois. What halacha do we learn from this, guys? The afikomen has to be until chatzois. Why? If the Korban Pesach is man kol halayla, why can't you eat the Korban Pesach, the afikomen, the whole night? So it's that this is the halacha we learn from here is the afikomen what has to be until chatzos. They imurim at safra and they imurim until the morning. So what do you see? There is such an animal. I like the pun. There is such an animal that what? That the basar will be what? Puzzle before what the imurim. So I'm a Rabbi Yosef Hachi Kashmir. Okay, Abaya, hold off on Rabbi Yosef's kasha. You didn't understand what Rabbi Yosef was asking Rav Kahana. Here's what he was asking. Mi ikamidi, is there something, the ilu tarnal basar like boy rashis, right? Rav Kahana leimurim boy rashis. Is there anything for the basar you don't need to tell me rashis, but according to Rav Kahana, you'd have to tell me rashis. Okay, so an ambiguous statement with a more ambiguous brisa, meaning by basar clearly I know it's the morning. So why would I need a limud to tell me a murim is what is the morning, the first morning? If by basar I don't have such a limud, I don't need such a limud by a murim. We're going to bring in now a difficult brisa. At the end of the brisa, we're going to get back to this statement of Rava to Abaya. Good? At the end of the statement, we can get back to. So let's see the ambiguous brisa. We're going to bring it. Then we're going to have an Amamar to explain it. We're going to have an Amamar to explain it. And then we're going to get the answer in a 1-2 liner to the dialogue between Rava and Abiyasi and Abaya. Okay. Maihi, what does Rava mean? The Tanya. Lo yolim min abasar asher tizbach. It's a Devarim Tezayin Dalid. Devarim Tezayin Dalid. You should not go ahead and not see chametz in all your gvulim. Shivas yomim for 7 days. Do not leave over from the basar that you shecht in the evening. Vayom harishon laboker. Now it's very wordy. The words don't leave it over to Yom Rishon to the morning. Just don't leave it over. What do you mean? Don't leave it to the Yom Rishon in the morning. So we can. Those two words are going to be darshan, Yom Rishon and boker. So it says, now, ostensibly right now, we're speaking about a korban that can be bought in the Erev. The only korban that we knew we bought the day before is the Chagiga Yud Pesach, and this is not speaking about the Pesach, it's speaking about the Chagiga Yudalit. Pashtus, because that you bought by Erev, guys, you bought it in the after Ben Arbayim, right? Well, by Yom HaRishon LaBoker, Amid Beis. Limeid, what does this pasuk come to teach me? Al Chagigas Yudalid, the Chagiga of the 14th, shenecheles l'shnei yomim v'layla echad, that it's eaten for 2 days and a night. When it says, guys, b'yom rishon, guys, Yom Rishon, that's one morning. Boiker is a second morning, so I get to eat it 2 days and a night, right? 2 days and a night. That's one derech. Says the Gemara, maybe it's only 1 day and a night. Kishu Omer b'Yom HaRishon, when it says the word Yom HaRishon, Hari Boiker Sheni Omar. It says, but Yom Rishon is day 1, and then it says Boiker Hari Boiker Sheni Omar. Oy Ein Ela Boiker Rishon. I don't know why it says that. It makes no sense, right? But the Gemara throws that in. Or maybe it only means the first morning. Uman. This is again a very ambiguous brisa. Umani Mekayim Chagiga and Achelos L'Shtei Yomim V'Layla Echad. And the pasuk that discusses a chagiga that's for 2 days and a night, chutz mizu, that would be the exception of chagigas yudalid. So in other words, there's 2 ways to go, guys. Look at me. I can say the chagiga is the yudalid is the same as any other chagiga, that is for 2 days and a night, or I could say no, the chagigas yudalid is for a day and a night, and not like any other chagiga. That's what I could say. So says the Gemara Vayter. Kishu Omer boy, when it says regarding 2 days and a night, im neder oy nedava. Now im is extra. Im neder oy nedava. Limeid al chagigas yidalit shenechelos lebeis yamim v'layla echad. So now I could have gone in this direction. I could have gone in that direction. I could have gone for 2 and a 1 or 1 and a 1. I'm going for a 2 and a 1. But the whole brisa did not flow at all. Let's put it back together. Amar, that means going back over the brisa to analyze the brisa. Amar. How can you go ahead and tell me in the same sentence where you told me it's 2 days and a night, because it says Yom Rishon and Boker, Yom Rishon meaning 1 and Boker meaning 2, how in the same sentence can you say it's only 1? What did you mean to throw in what's the tzad to say 1? It said clearly it's 2. Says the Gemara Hachi Kamar. Maybe we're not speaking about 1 korban. Maybe we're speaking about 2 korbanos. Echas chagiga yedalid, v'echas chagiga tesvav. One part of the pasuk is speaking about the chagiga of yedalid, and one part is speaking about the chagiga of tesvav. Chagiga of yedalid zman would be till tesvav. Chagiga of tesvav would be zman to tezayin. But both are only a day and a night. Now look at Rashi, guys. This is Rashi. Let's do the Rashi. Hachi kamar oy einai. It's parallel to where you are a little bit down. El yom v'layla. Maybe it's only a day and a night. I v'haydich sib b'yom rishon laboiker. When it says yom rishon laboiker, mashma 2 days and a night. Milsa achritahi. That's a totally different animal. Ub'shtei chagigos dibra kasev. And the pasuk is speaking about 2 separate animals. Chagigas arba asa, the chamesh asa. One part of the pasuk is describing a chagiga yedalid, and the other part of the pasuk is describing chagiga tesvav. Zula baikra, yedalid would get 1 morning. Vizula baikra, and tesvav would get 1 morning, and they only both get 1 morning. V'hachi mashmakra, and here's the way you would fit it into the pasuk, guys. You should not leave over from the meat of the chagiga that you shechted in the evening. Stamlina means 1 night. And the one that you shechted on tezvav, guys, turn back to the Yom Aleph. Bottom line. Look at the bottom line on Ayin Aleph on the base. Here's the way I'm going to darshan the pasuk, guys. Layolin, do not leave over. Look at the words. Do not leave over min abasa, from the meat asher tisbach be'erev, from the meat of the chagiga which was shechted when erev yontif. Don't leave over. Yolin stam lina means 1 night. Don't leave over to tesvav in the morning. And b'yom rishon, and in addition, the korban that was shechted b'yom rishon on tesvav labayke, don't leave that over to the morning either. But both are speaking about what? 1 day and a night. So I don't know 2 and a night. So that's what the brisa means. A day and a night meaning. And I'm not going to darshan the pasuk that it's speaking about 1 korban, and therefore it says yom rishon, which would be 1 morning, a bayka a 2nd morning. We're going to speak about 2 separate things. Lo Yolin is speaking about going on the animal of Shechta Be'erev. Lo Yolin is speaking about the animal of Shechta on Yom Rishon. And both Chagigas, Yudalit, and Tesvav would only get 1. How do you know you don't say that? Back in the Gemara. The pasuk that tells us that a Chagiga is speaking for 2 days and an item came in Nedoi Nedava B'mai. Why are you going to use this pasuk? This pasuk Ned and Nedava is describing an animal that is shechted for chagiga for a day and a night. If you're going to tell me it's chagigas yidalid, hakasivba yom v'layla. You already told me yom v'layla, right? You told me it's only a day and a night. La yolin be'erev. Chagigas tesvav hakasivba yom v'layla. Chagigas tesvav also is only for a day and a night. So I got a problem. What do I do with the pasuk of Ned and Nedava, which is speaking about chagiga for 2 days and a night? And there's no other chagiga besides what? Yud Gimel Tesvav and Yudalid. Ela Haila Chagigas Tesvav. This pasuk is come to teach me Chagigas Tesvav and Yudalid that the 2 days and a night. Veheich Kula Krol Chagiga Yudalid, Limed Al Chagiga Yudalid, and the Chel Yom V'Lay Lechad. And the pasuk of Chagiga Yudalid can teach me Chagigas Yudalid that it's seen for 2 days and a night. Time of the Chsib Yom Rishon LaBoiket. Now why? So now, this pasuk is teaching me, guys, look back in the pasuk now. So now, we know we're not darshaning the way we thought we're darshaning. We darshan the following way. Do not leave it over, be on Rishon for one morning, laboika to a second morning. So I know it's seen for 2 days and a night, because it's only speaking of one carbon. Now, says, let's getting back to the ranch. Do you remember the conversation between Rav and Abaya? We're getting back to that. This is what Rav told Abaya. The reason why it says Yom La Boiker, the my Boiker, Boiker Sheni, fellas, why is Yom Rishon La Boiker? Why is Boiker Boiker Sheni? It's because before it says what? It says Yom Rishon. Without Yom Rishon, what would Boker mean? That's his kasha. Why would you think, therefore, you have to say rachis to create that it's speaking about what? Boker Rishon, even without the rachis, what? It's speaking about Rosh Rishon, because you don't find any place that Boker means Boker Sheni. The reason over here Boker means Boker Sheni, because it has the words Yom Rishon before it. Without the word Yom Rishon before it, Boker Rishon means exactly what it is. It means Boker Rishon. That says the Gemara. Time that's the Yom Rishon, the Boker. The my Boker Boker Sheni. A kolecha the siv Boker Stama Boker Rishon. Afagav like siva rachis. And that was the kasha that Rava asked Abaya. Why do you need the rachis to create Boker to be Boker Rishon? Even without the word rachis, it means Boker Rishon. Because the whole reason means Boker Sheni over here, because it says words by Yom Rishon before that. Okay, Yetz Midvarenu, we saw today, very interesting, we saw that machlokas between Ula and Rabbi Laza and Rav and Rabbi Laza regarding can you be Yotze Yechiyev of Simcha with a carbon that was shechted beforehand? According to the Rambam Paskins like Ravin, in fact, you could. You had a carbon that was shechted, whether listen to this, not only if it's Chagigas Yud Gimel, but even in a dava, if I go ahead and I bring in a dava and Yud Dalid, and I bring it, and I would be able to go ahead and be Yotze my Chiyav with Shlomim with that Chiyav. In addition, we saw a halacha that the emurim of Shlomim is considered Kodshe Kedoshim, and all emurim are therefore burned for a day and a night. The day is shechtim, and the night afterwards, in the morning, it have to be burnt, not on the Mizbeach, but in the Bira, in the Macham Psol. And we just saw that we ended off with a difficult brisa, basically show when anytime it says the word Boiker, it means Boiker Rishon, or else you would have to say B'Yom Rishon to say Sheni. I'm going to hold it over here, even though it's a little distance, but to facilitate understanding tomorrow, I'll stop over here.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.